Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by to check out my latest video. And today I am here to continue on with my Margarete Miller weekly challenge of working on my Collage weekly planner. And this week we are on week number 9, and I do have to admit that I've been having a ton of fun working on these collages every week. And so I'm excited to get going on this one. I pulled out a lot of fun stuff that I'm excited about to work with today. So today's assignment is we have to pick something inspired by a fairy tale, something that represents an event, an architectural element, a dictionary page, a key, and then the bonus is a postal stamp. And so I grabbed some stuff from my stash, and it was almost as soon as I started grabbing stuff, a theme kind of represented itself a little bit. So the first one, inspired by a fairy tale. And I had remembered a long time ago I had stamped, and I did dig out the rubber stamps. I had stamped these two sentiments, once upon a time, and they lived happily ever after. It seems like all fairy tales start off with once upon a time, and then at the very end it says, and they lived happily ever after. And here's the two rubber stamps. They're actually from different companies. No, same company. Hampton Art is the name of the company for both of them. And I've had them in my stash for a while. I'm not quite sure where I originally bought them, but I've had them for a long time. And originally I was going to use them, I think, in an altered book. A group of friends and I used to alter books, and then we'd pick a theme, and then we kind of exchange them. And someone had kind of a fairy tale theme, and I had stamped a whole bunch of these. And these two I didn't use, and so they were in my little pile of stamped images. And so I dug them out, thinking that they would be perfect for this type of layout today. And then I also grabbed a couple more things, or stamped a couple other things. I did go ahead and stamp this image right here. Not sure if I'll use it or not, but it's kind of an image of a castle, and it came from a 2005 Stampin' Up! Set. So thinking maybe that'll work, possibly. And then I also pulled out, I had some postage stamps. This one has crowns on it. So that kind of reminds me of a fairy tale with a king and a queen, or a princess. And then also some postage stamps that are of castles that I had in my stash. So that would also work for the bonus item of a postal stamp. So I have those to play around with. And then something that represents an event. And I thought, well, recently my nephew proposed to his girlfriend. He still has to buy her a ring and everything, but so I was thinking of an event would be in a wedding. I just had that on my brain. And so I do have this lovely die cut of this wedding couple. It's a tonic die, and so I did cut it out in black and gray. And then I also went through my scraps of paper just for some background colors that these would maybe look nice on. I'm just going to use one of them, but I wanted a couple to play with. And it's sometimes kind of nice to have extra die cuts in my die cut stash just for random things. So whichever one I don't use, I'll be able to use down the road on a wedding card or something. So that was my something that represents an event. So the event would be a wedding. And then architectural element, right away I thought about a rubber stamp that I have. It's this one right here. And it's been a long time since I've used it, but it's from Inka Dinka Doo is the name of the company for that one. And then the other, when I was pulling this stamp out, I also had this one next to it. That's also kind of an architectural thing, a column. And this one is a pillar stamp. And this one is from Stampington and Company. So I pulled those two out, and I actually stamped them. Again, I stamped this one on 3 different colors of paper. And this one I just did on the one, because I'm thinking I'm going to use this one. But I did want this one to play around with just in case. So the next item on the list then is a dictionary page. And I went ahead when I was grabbing my dictionary that I ripped stuff out of. And I went to the L section because it did seem like I was kind of going with a little bit of a theme. You know, the fairy tale, the wedding. Usually there's a story about love somehow tied into those. So I went to the L section and I ripped out the section that had the word love in it. And I did go ahead and ink the edges in kind of a, I think it's Victorian Velvet. It's Distress ink from Tim Holtz. So I'm going to use that as my dictionary page. Then the next item was a key. I do have some key charms, but I decided that that just adds more bulk. And since I've had charms on my page the other week, I decided to try and look for something flat. So I did have this Bow Bunny paper, and they were both scraps. This came from the 12 by 12 paper, and this came from the 6 by 6. There was other images on it, and I had used some of them in a previous journal, but I still had these two images, so I could use one of these key images. And then I also found a sticker of a key in my stash. So I'll use one of those as my key. And again, the postal stamps, I did pull out those castle ones. But then again, thinking I was going with this love type theme possibly, I knew I had some postage stamps. Here's another like castle or church, possibly that one is. But I had like, this one said love, this one's a little rose, that one's a rose, that's a rose. This one was kind of nice. It's kind of more of a vintage looking one. And then it was actually on a pink envelope, so it kind of seems like I have a little bit of pink stuff. And then I also had this flower too that I pulled out. So I could also add one of these instead of the castle ones if I decided to. And then I randomly just grabbed some pink, you know, kind of scrap paper. I looked through my scrap paper stash and grabbed some papers thinking maybe I could use something. And then also I had 2 hearts that I thought would maybe match stuff too that I had pulled out from my hearts. And so that's what I'm going to work with today. And since it looks like I have most things already cut out, I'm just going to start in right away laying out possibly stuff. And so looking at my pile, you know, the dictionary page is pretty big. So again, I like to start off with some of my bigger elements and see where that goes. You know, I'll need to pick one of those. And then I'll also need to pick one of these. I'll maybe start with, I'll start with the gray die cut. And I'll maybe just start it off on the white and then see if I need to change out the color after a bit. Just seems like this one has the best stamped image. Sometimes that rubber stamp's a tough one to stamp. I'll just start with that one and then I can change it out if I need to. Well, that one might not be too bad. Maybe I'll leave it at the white. So I'll start with that. So what else? Okay, so I need and they lived happily ever after and Once Upon a Time. So I probably want to use the Once Upon a Time up the top and then They Lived Happily Ever After at the bottom. So inspired by fairy tale, I got something represented by an event, which would be the wedding, architectural element, dictionary. So I just need the key and the postage stamp. And then if I choose to add some sort of scrapbooking paper or something too, I mean, it'd be easy to add the key pretty much anywhere on here. You know, I could just use part of the key there, possibly. Just want to see if I rearrange stuff differently, if I can maybe use this piece of scrapbooking paper. I'm trying so hard to use up lots of bits and pieces from my stash, so the more that I can add on to something, the better, I guess. You know, maybe the bird would be kind of cute up there. You know, a little bit of pink. For whatever reason, I'm really drawn to that bird. So, it's either the bird or I like this one the best, I think, out of all those papers I pulled out. And I could maybe stick this Once Upon a Time, maybe underneath the bird. So I just got to decide if I like the key or not, and then if I want to leave the heart on here, or if I want to add that somewhere. Or I don't necessarily even have to add that, I guess, because it's not really required. That's kind of fun. But I also have to, if I want to do the bonus, the postage stamp. I could put something up there. You know, that's kind of cute with the little angel on it that says love too, and I could just stick that somewhere. Somewhere on here. What other postage stamps do I have? Wish I had some other one that had a heart on it or something, but I don't. So I could just put that pink one there with the pink heart. Or the pink rose. And that doesn't look too bad, I don't think. You know, I did have this other architectural column. You know, you could set the bird sitting on it or something. I don't think I'm going to use that. So, so now just to decide if I like that key or if I want to put, you know, some sort of scrapbooking paper and put a key on top of it. But I think I'm happy with that one. I've had this one in my stash for quite a while, that scrap piece. So it'd be nice to get rid of it. And I think I kind of like that layout with the rose right there for the postage stamp. So I think I did everything, including the bonus then. I have inspired by fairy tale, something that represents an event, architectural element, dictionary page, a key, and a postal stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all these down, and then I'll be right back to show you exactly what it looked like. So I did finish gluing everything down, and pretty much the way I had showed previously, but the only thing I ended up doing or adding to it is I did put a little strip here at the bottom, because when I started gluing stuff down, there was just a little bit of the bottom background paper showing that was part of the original sheet, and I didn't like how that looked. So I went ahead and just added one of those scrapbooking pieces of paper that I had shown you earlier on the bottom before I glued the wedding couple down. And so this is what I have left. And then I still really wanted to add my heart somewhere onto the layout. So I think I'm just going to glue it down right here. I just, for whatever reason, I really like that heart, and it uses up another heart. Oftentimes when I get down to small scraps in my stash, I will paper punch out hearts, or I'll punch out little labels or words. Oftentimes I do the tabs for my junk journals, and so I have a pretty big stash right now of hearts, and so it's just nice to use up one of them on a project. So I think I'm going to call that layout done. And again, that was week 9's layout, and our assignment was inspired by a fairy tale, which I have the words "Once upon a time and they lived happily ever after," something that represents an event, the wedding, an architectural element, and see a dictionary page, a key, and a postage stamp. So I really love how it turned out, and I want to thank everybody so much for watching today. I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.